Right now at 6, shelters open their doors as dangerous cold moves in.
If you know people that do not have shelter, now's the time to contact those folks.
We break down the potential for valley snow or even ice later this week. Plus, police bust an alleged burglary ring they say targeted dozens of Asian American homeowners from Beaverton to Bend.
We hope that the folks who've been impacted feel a little bit safer tonight.
Then, questions in Clark County over homemade spikes painted with a hate symbol and a name. And later, how the impact of bird flu is now being felt by some local shoppers.
Can get them before they open, and so by 10, we're selling out of whatever egg stock we do have.
Good evening, everyone. David Molko here with you on this Monday, where you've seen the occasional flurry coming down. 37 degrees in the Rose City with temperatures dropping and cold weather shelters set to open across the Portland metro, as we also keep our eyes on a brewing winter storm. Headed our way later this week with the potential for snow and even ice hitting the valley floor. We have live team coverage tonight. Meteorologist Joe Ranieri tracking the cold weather response. But first to Chief Meteorologist Matt Zaffino, watching it all in your first forecast. Hi, Matt.
Hey, David. We've had a few flurries this afternoon. Kind of fun to see that happen as this colder air is beginning to edge its way south across northern Oregon. It's 38 degrees right now. The east winds have already developed. They're going to get stronger, a lot stronger tomorrow and tomorrow afternoon. The air is also very dry, and that's why these snowflakes have been able to survive to the ground, even though temperatures are well above freezing. These are just very light flurries, not a big deal at all. The clouds will clear tonight. You can see on Doppler radar the scattered showers that are around right now. And as I mentioned, this will all end. There's a little bit up in the Cascades and over around Mountain Hood too. But even there, an inch, half an inch is all we're going to be seeing. Temperatures, though, getting colder. See, it's 20 in Pendleton right now, already down to 18 in Walla Walla and 8 in Pullman. And that cold Arctic air is moving south through Washington into eastern Oregon. And now with the east wind developing, it'll cross the Cascades, come through the gorge. And we've got a couple of very cold nights on the way. Then we turn our attention to Thursday, Friday, because that's when we've got the potential for snow and eventually transitioning to freezing rain and or sleet. That probably won't happen in Portland until Friday. We'll have to wait and see how much snow we actually get. It could be very minor or it could be several inches. So just be ready to have to stay home. There could be slick roads and power outages are not out of the question. But in the meantime, we've got an extreme cold watch for the Coast Range and the Cascade foothills and the gorge because of the wind chills dropping below zero in those areas. For the metro area, it's a cold weather advisory for temperatures below about 25 the next 2 nights. Dangerous wind chills, as I mentioned, in the gorge and the Cascades. And then snow, potentially some sleet and freezing rain Thursday into Friday. We'll take a look at how much we may see and the timing of it all in a bit, David.
Yeah, and the time to get ready for all this, of course, is right now.
Exactly.
Thank you, Matt. Let's bring in Joe Ranieri live in southwest Portland. Joe, Multnomah County is now under a state of emergency because of what could be the coldest weather we have seen so far this season.
That's right, David, and we are going to be seeing warming centers throughout both Multnomah and Washington counties packed over the next couple of nights because of these cold temperatures that we've been seeing here really the last couple nights, and what Matt has been talking about as well. But also fire crews with Portland Fire and Rescue are also paying attention to the later part of this week in case the chance we do see some snow and ice. It's been nice to soak up the vitamin D over the last few weeks, but as temperatures drop this week, warming centers are going to be filling up fast.
We make these decisions day by day, and the reason why we want to do that is because this way we have the most accurate forecast of which we can make decisions.
Both Multnomah and Washington counties will have their warming centers open. Multnomah County opens its center when the temperatures are forecasted to drop down to 25 degrees or below, or with lows overnight at or below 32 degrees with an inch or more of rain, or the chance of at least an inch of snow over a 24-hour period.
There are 3,000 beds that we have in the county that we serve every day. And even though last night we didn't meet thresholds, there's actually beds if folks were to call 211, available beds right now.
Washington County has similar guidelines. They'll also have 2 warming shelters open starting Monday. With temperatures dangerously low, Portland firefighters expect to be going on more calls, not only for the cold, but for the chance to see ice too.
And it will get upwards of 75 fall calls that often will require emergency transport because somebody's injured themselves. They've struck their head.
With more people looking to stay warm, Rick Graves with Portland Fire and Rescue wants people to remember the proper way to stay warm in this cold.
So have the generator outside your home with the exhaust facing away from any sort of ability to have that enter the home, windows and vents and such.
And making sure you keep generators and the exhaust as far away from your house as possible to avoid carbon monoxide poisoning. Now, David, there's a good chance these warming centers stay open the entire week because they are based on just how cold things are going to get. It doesn't look like we'll be seeing much of a warm up over the next couple of nights, at least through the end of the week. Back to you.
Yeah, in Multnomah County, I think it's 25 degrees overnight, and we are expected to dip below that in the overnight hours. Thank you, Joe. Stay with KGW for continuing coverage of both the extreme cold as we track the chances of snow and ice later this week as well. Look for the latest on air plus anytime on KGW.com and on our streaming app that is KGW Plus. In your headlines tonight, several customers at a self-storage business in Vancouver are salvaging what they can after a fire. Flames broke out around 9 this morning at additional self-storage on Northeast Burton Road, just off I-205. Firefighters had to cut through the roll doors of several units to get to that fire and pulled out everything they could save. It took them just under an hour to knock it down. No word yet on the cause. The largest healthcare worker strike in Oregon history is now well into week 5. Dozens of doctors at Providence St. Vincent unanimously voted to approve their tentative contract agreement, but they are staying on the picket lines. That's because thousands of Providence nurses, including those at St. Vincent, outright rejected their tentative agreements last Friday. Meanwhile, lawmakers in Salem are hearing a new bill that would force hospitals to disclose how much they are spending on replacement workers during a strike or a lockout. And tomorrow is a special election in some parts of Clark County with a number of key measures on the ballot. Among them, there are a lot here. Replacement levies for the Evergreen, Battleground, La Center, and Ridgefield school districts. New levies for the Mount Pleasant and Vancouver districts. An $87 million bond for the Hawkinson district that would pay for a new elementary school. And then finally in Camas, a levy to increase police funding by raising the utility tax rate from 2% to 6%. Ballots, as typical, must be postmarked tomorrow or put into a ballot drop box by 8 in the evening. In an update, Tigard police say they have made a significant breakthrough in a string of dozens of home burglaries in Washington County. They say targeted Asian American homeowners. Daisy Caballero is live in Beaverton. Daisy, authorities say they arrested 4 suspects in Bend. What else are you learning?
Yeah, David, Tigard police say that at least 39 homes were hit and all of the homeowners were Asian American. Now, they also say as the investigation continues, more arrests and charges may be coming to light.
You don't get wins a lot when it comes to investigating something like a series of home burglaries, but we would consider this a win.
After a 5-month-long investigation, Tigard police have charged and arrested 4 people connected to at least 39 home burglaries spanning across Oregon. And it appears they were targeting a specific demographic.
As far as I know, all of the victims connected with these suspects are Asian Americans.
Kelsey Anderson with Tigard PD says all 4 suspects are from Colombia: Herbert, Maria, Fabio, and Fatima, and were arrested in Bend last Tuesday, but lived throughout the Portland metro. They were extradited back to Washington County to face several felony charges, according to court documents.
So far, we know that there were people who were targeted here in Tigard, in Beaverton, in Washington County, in Bend, in Eugene, and possibly other cities as well.
I spent the afternoon door knocking at several of the targeted homes. One woman declined an interview, while the rest didn't answer the door. Police say numerous search warrants were executed in Oregon City, Bend, and Portland, where police recovered stolen cash, jewelry, and seized several cars connected to this investigation.
This has been a really long, complex investigation for our detectives, and we are really happy to be able to be at this point where we've been able to make some significant arrests, and we hope that the folks who've been impacted feel a little bit safer tonight knowing that.
Tigard police says that they are currently working to return all of these stolen items to their designated owners. As for the suspects, they are set to be back in court on Wednesday. David, back to you.
Daisy Caballero in Beaverton this evening. Thank you, Daisy. Developing tonight, people in the small town of Yakult say someone has been leaving pieces of scrap wood with spikes sticking out along the road. A warning for our viewers, these spikes have a hate symbol and a name written on them. Devin Haskins has more from Clark County.
This is one of the pieces of wood that was found around here in the town of Yakult. All 3 pieces have nails in them the size of my pinky, the word Kent written on them, a potential reference to Republican congressional candidate Joe Kent, who was just recently nominated to lead the Counterterrorism Center by President Trump, as well as underneath my fingers, a swastika symbol. And the mayor of Yakult says the 3 spikes were found in different neighborhoods in Yakult on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of last week. The wood scraps also bear the name Kent on them. Again, a potential reference to Republican Joe Kent, who lives in Yakult. Last week, President Trump nominated Kent to lead the Counterterrorism Center. So far, the city says there have been no reports of damage from the nails or from someone stepping on them. But the city just wants to know who's leaving them behind.
The biggest concern is that somebody that's either in the community or outside of the community thinks it's okay to put harmful spikes where people are walking their dogs, their kids are riding their bikes, they're playing. That's not okay. It's not okay to put something out there that's going to hurt somebody.
We reached out to the Kent campaign, and a former spokesperson for his campaign said he was unable to comment to the media about this because he was in D.C. for the confirmation hearings. In Yakult, I'm Devin Haskins, KGW News.
Meanwhile, in Washington, a federal judge has temporarily blocked the Trump administration from making drastic cuts to research paid for through the National Institutes of Health, or NIH, a move that could impact thousands of local jobs. That ruling came hours after the attorneys general of 22 states, including Oregon and Washington, sued the administration over the cuts announced last Friday. Now, the lawsuit alleges the cuts would cripple innovation and life-saving research, and that the Trump administration does not have the authority to unilaterally make them. More than $400 million in NIH-funded projects are underway in Oregon, supporting around 5,000 jobs. Today's ruling halts the cuts for now, pending a hearing scheduled for February 21st.